So till now what we have covered is socio-religious reform movements of 19th century, right? In that we have seen that there are two types, okay? So we have seen reformist and revivalist, okay? So these are the two types of socio-religious reform movements that you can see in 19th century, or this is the broad classification. Now what we have done is we have discussed about reformist movement. So when we discussed about reformist movement, I told you there are reformist movements among Hindus and there are reformist movement among Muslims also, right? Now Hindus, when we have discussed about Hindus, we have discussed about Brahmo Samaj, right? Now more than Brahmo Samaj, we have completely covered Rajaram Mohan Roy in our first lecture. So our first lecture was basically focused on Rajaram Mohan Roy. In that, as a part of the discussion, I have covered Brahmo Samaj also. Then after that, we have discussed about Aligarh movement from Muslim side as a reformist movement. But more than Aligarh movement, we have covered the contribution of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, right? So this is what we have done in our second lecture. So first and second videos was about reformist movement. Now in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover revivalist movement completely. So with that, this chapter will be over. So when we discuss about revivalist movement, again you can see among Hindus as well as among Muslims. So when we talk about Hindus, we will be discussing about Arya Samaj by Dayanand Saraswati, and when we discuss about Muslims, we will be discussing about Wahhabi movement. Okay, so these two topics is what we are going to cover in this video, and if time permits, we will discuss about Swami Vivekananda also. With that, this lecture will be over and this entire chapter will be over. Now along with this, we have also covered various other movements like Theosophical Society, Satya Shodak Samaj, and Young Bengal movement, etc. Right? So all those things we have covered so far. Now in this video, we will be going to discuss about Arya Samaj, Wahhabi movement and Swami Vivekananda. So let me start off with Wahhabi movement. So we will be starting with Wahhabi movements, okay? So Wahhabi movement was basically among Muslims. Now when we discuss about movements among Muslims, okay, keep away the Aligarh movement, which was reformist movement. But when we discuss from prelims point of view, there are two important movements. One is Khilafat movement. Now we'll see obviously whether there is a connection with Wahhabi movement or not. And then we have a Deoband movement, right? Deoband movement. So basically this is directly linked with Wahhabi movement. So we will see the connection between these two movements and Wahhabi movement obviously. But let me tell you what is Wahhabi movement and the ideology and everything we will discuss in this session. Okay. Now what is this word, how this word Wahhabi came? Wahhabi is actually derived from a person whose name is Wahhab ibn Arabi. Wahhab ibn Arabi. He lived in 18th century Arab. Okay, now in Saudi Arabia. Okay, so the Wahhabi movement is basically named after this person, Wahhab ibn Arabi, who lived in 18th century Arab. Now he wanted to revive Islam and Islamic tradition as in the case of 7th century Arab. Okay, so he wanted to revive Islam. So basically to revive Islam and Islamic tradition as it was in 7th century Arab. When we talk about 7th century Arab, we are talking about those times when Islam was at its pure form. So he basically started a movement. Now the idea is now there are certain practices in Islam which are un-Islamic. So he believed that these un-Islamic practices should not be there and we want to revive Islam in its pure form. That means in the 7th century Arab. The belief was Islam was in its pure form during 7th century Arab when Prophet Muhammad and the 4 caliphs were ruling and living. So you just need to know about the 4 caliphs. I'll just tell you the names. Abu Bakr, in case if you get a question, okay, Umar Farooq, okay, then Uthman Affan and Ali Abi Talib. Ali Abi Talib. So Islam was in its pure form in 7th century when Prophet Muhammad and these 4 caliphs were there. So his objective is basically to revive Islam like in the case of 7th century. Okay, so that's why it is called as revivalist movement. So the person who started the movement is Wahhab ibn Arabi in Saudi Arabia. So 7th century Saudi Arabia or Arab was considered as the ideal society, or the practices were totally Islamic. Now there are certain practices in Islam which are un-Islamic. So there are a lot of changes happened in Islam now. So basically they want to revive Islam in its pure form. Okay, I hope the idea is clear. That's the objective of Wahhabi movement. So if I ask you where Wahhabi movement started, it's not in India. It was started in Saudi Arabia. Okay, and by Wahhab ibn Arabi. So the name is actually from this person only, Wahhab ibn Arabi. Now we'll come to India now. Now, when we discuss about India, the people who were influenced by Wahhab ibn Arabi were Shah Abdul Aziz. Shah Abdul Aziz. He was actually son of a famous Sufi saint Shah Waliullah. Okay, so Shah Abdul Aziz. So when we discuss about Young Bengal movement, Henry Vivian de Rosio was influenced by the founder of Young Italy movement, Mazzini. Same way, these people, Shah Abdul Aziz and Said Ahmad of Rai Bareli. Now you should not have any confusion between this Said Ahmad and Sir Said Ahmad Khan. So Said Ahmad Khan we have already discussed, and I told you he was a reformist. But this Said Ahmad I am talking about in Wahhabi movement, and it's a revivalist movement. So obviously you can see Said Ahmad in both reformist and revivalist when it comes to Muslims. Okay, so these are the two people who started the movement in India who was influenced by Wahhab ibn Arabi, and they used this slogan jihad, okay, as a political slogan. So what was their objective? The objective was basically fundamentally to reform, okay, to reform Islamic society, but you should not have a confusion that this is a reformist movement. Second is the most dangerous one, or the one which created problems. Okay, so see, you are reforming your religion, that there is no issue. Now here reform means what? In their point of view, what is mean by reform? It is actually revive Islam in its pure form. Now certain practices in Islam are un-Islamic, so you need to reform Islam. That means you need to revive Islam in its pure form. That means whatever was there in 7th century Arab, that was the pure form. Okay, and you need to bring it back to that level. Second one was created problems in the minds of the people, and it actually created threat for other religion also. That is basically to establish Islamic rule. So this is very political in nature. So first one, there is no problem. This is considered okay because you are going to reform your religion. Nobody is going to care for that. But the second one created problems, and all the problems associated with Wahhabi movement will come predominantly from this side. Now let's look at this one, reform Islamic tradition. What does that mean? So reform Islamic tradition means the tradition of Prophet Muhammad was given importance. Okay, so whatever Prophet Muhammad followed, you have to follow the same thing. So tradition of Prophet Muhammad have to be followed. Then, so basically Prophet Muhammad tradition must be followed. Quran must be strictly followed. Okay, then they prohibited offerings at the shrines. Okay, prohibited offerings. See, basically the point is the offerings were totally un-Islamic. It was an influence by Hinduism. Okay, so there was no such offerings among Islam, so it has to be prohibited. Then festivals like Shab-e Barat were rejected. Festivals like Shab-e Barat, just before Ramzan, there is a festival called Barat or Shab-e Barat, it has to be rejected. So what were their objectives when it comes to Islamic reform? Prophet Muhammad tradition must be strictly followed. Quran must be strictly followed. They prohibited offerings at the shrines because their version is this is an influence by Hinduism and it is totally un-Islamic. Then festivals like Shab-e Barat were rejected completely. So basically tradition of Indian Muslims which they thought that it is un-Islamic were rejected or opposed. See, this is common in all religion. In all religion there will be certain practices which was not or which will not be prescribed in Holy Book, or which will be different from what is there in the Holy Book, because it is actually coming out of with history, tradition, culture and mixing with other cultures, etc. And Islam is also not so different, and when it comes to India, Islam is also not homogeneous. Although it was supposed to be homogeneous, it was not homogeneous because of the influence of many other culture. So what Wahhabis thought is Islam is one and all the Muslims should practice the same. Okay, so their idea is Islam is one and it is a homogeneous religion. So the practice all should practice one. Now that's not very easy, right? Because different cultural groups and different cultural practices, different language, and it is very difficult also. And it was not ending here. We'll be discussing about that in future also. But this is a point, the first point when we talk about, that is reform in Islam, and these are the reforms that they were looking for. Now if the question is about who started the movement, Wahhabi movement, it's not in India, it was in 18th century Arab by Wahhab ibn Arabi, and the movement got its name from that particular person.